The aid agency Oxfam has accused the UK of violating an international arms treaty by selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. The Arms Trade Treaty regulates the international trade in conventional weapons. It prevents the sale of weapons that would be used to violate international or humanitarian law. Well, the UK is a signatory of the treaty, and according to Oxfam, it has gone from being an enthusiastic backer of the agreement to one of its most significant violators because of Saudi Arabia's actions in Yemen. Oxfam is one of the many organisations working in Yemen which has accused Saudi Arabia of violating human rights in the way it's conducting the war there. Well, for more on this, Shaheen Chughtai joins me now from Oxford. He's the Deputy Head of Humanitarian Policy and Campaigns at Oxfam. So what is it that you're seeing on the ground there in Yemen where your workers are?
Well, what we're seeing is one of the biggest humanitarian catastrophes in the world. There are more than 20 million people in Yemen who've been affected by the conflict that's been raging there. They desperately need all kinds of humanitarian assistance: food, water, shelter, etc. And what we're seeing on the part of the international community is, instead of serious efforts to try to stop the bloodshed, we're finding that governments such as the UK are in fact helping to fuel a conflict that is bringing such misery to millions of people.
Where's the concrete evidence that British arms are being used in the conflict, though?
There's been a substantial amount of growing evidence that has been found by people working on the ground, by aid workers, by very credible human rights organisations, finding, for example, munitions that have clearly been manufactured in the UK. So we found a growing amount of evidence, and of course we also know that there have been very significant civilian casualties. So thousands of people have been killed. The UN itself has found, through its own assessments, that 2/3 of the civilian casualties that have been caused in Yemen have been caused by the Saudi-led Gulf military coalition that is operating in Yemen, and that is a body, a collection of states that have been armed by the UK and others.
So what are you calling on the UK government to do?
What we need is an immediate suspension of arms transfers to the Saudi-led coalition. There is enough evidence to show that there is a clear risk that if further arms are transferred to such parties, or indeed any party in Yemen, that civilian casualties will occur, that the international humanitarian law will be violated. So we don't, according to the Arms Trade Treaty, we don't need proof of this to actually happen. What we need is clear evidence that there is a risk that this is going to happen. And we have seen so many civilian deaths. We've seen hospitals being hit. We've seen aid convoys being hit. It is clear that that threat to civilian life and property is ongoing. And as a result, we need all arms transfers to stop, and we need redoubled efforts to make sure that we can bring this very brutal and bloody conflict to an end.
Shaheen Chughtai from Oxfam, thank you.